Usually when we talk about, making a major life change, there's this weird expectation of a clean slate.
Oh, yeah. Like perfectly clean.
Right. You decide to be positive, you visualize the finish line, and then suddenly this like pristine, perfectly paved path just magically appears.
Right. It's like the classic self-help montage. You wake up at 5 a.m., you drink a green smoothie, and you just conquer the world through sheer, uninterrupted optimism.
I mean, we've all seen it. But
Yeah.
then you actually step out the door into real life, which is complicated and messy.
Yeah, very messy.
Maybe you're exhausted, or you're dealing with a chronic illness. Maybe your bank account is totally overdrawn, or you're navigating this deeply toxic family dynamic. And suddenly, that glossy self-help map is, well, it's completely useless.
Yeah, it doesn't apply at all.
It's basically like standing knee-deep in a literal swamp, and the mat is just enthusiastically telling you to rollerblade down the sidewalk.
Rollerblade out of the swamp. Good luck with that.
Exactly. And that massive disconnect is why we really need to look at a concept called applied possibility today. The source for this is a fantastic book called The Possibility of Happy, a field guide to applied possibility by Raven McGee and Anna Talyn.
Such a good book.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is to basically extract the core high-level tools from this book to give you, the listener, genuine hope and practical momentum, even if you are starting from a really tough, less-than-ideal place in life. So, okay, let's unpack this, because they actively throw away those rollerblades, right? This isn't about magical thinking.
No, not at all. And I think that distinction is, crucial, because right out of the gate, this book actively breaks the mold of the typical self-help genre.
Right.
They make it explicitly clear that this is not about manifestation.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's not the law of attraction. It's about what the authors call probability work.
Probability work. See, that sounds much more like, I don't know, engineering than magical thinking.
That's exactly what it is. It is an active architectural process. Like, you aren't just closing your eyes, visualizing a promotion or a healed body, and then just waiting for the universe to deliver it to your doorstep.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
No. You are actually examining the internal and external conditions. So your habits, your physical environment, your community, and you're asking how to systematically reduce the barriers between you and what you want.
Okay, so it's not a guarantee, obviously.
No, there are no guarantees, but it is about increasing the likelihood of a specific outcome.
So it's less like closing your eyes and wishing you roll a 6, and more like learning how to physically load the dice.
Oh, I like that.
You're just engineering the probability so the odds naturally tip in your favor.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You are the mechanism at work, and the goal you're engineering toward, what the book defines as happy, is honestly just as grounded.
Right, because happy can mean a lot of things to different people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they point out that happy in this framework is not unbroken bliss or constant joy.
Which sounds exhausting anyway.
It is an impossible, totally exhausting standard. In this book, happiness is defined as alignment, peace, and resilience.
Alignment, okay.
Yeah, it's when your actions, your values, and your choices all kind of move together enough to create a sustainable rhythm in your life.
A sustainable rhythm feels, infinitely more attainable than just being joyful 24/7.
For sure. And to understand why the framework is built this way, you kind of have to look at the authors themselves.
Yeah. You have the system side and the human side.
Exactly. They met back in 2012, realized their independent frameworks were basically pointing at the exact same truth, just from different angles, and they decided to merge them.
That's such a cool origin story, though there is a deeply poignant layer to this collaboration, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there is. Tragically, Raven passed away in 2023 before the manuscript was actually finished.
Oh, man.
So Anna completed it as this collaborative legacy to honor Raven's life and work. And you can really feel that weight in the writing.
I bet.
It doesn't promise this massive overnight transformation. Instead, it offers this raw honesty and a deeply tested empathy.
So it reads like it was actually written for people who are currently in the trenches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which forces a massive question, right? If you are in those trenches and you aren't leaping towards some magically manifested future, how do you actually generate movement?
Right. How do you start when you're stuck in the mud?
Well, the answer is the absolute heart of the book. It's a concept they call the next honest inch.
The next honest inch. Okay, I love the sound of that.
The premise here is fascinating because they argue that you do not need a perfect plan. In fact, waiting for a perfect plan is usually the exact mechanism keeping you stuck.
Oh, absolutely. Analysis paralysis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just need to move 1 inch from the actual complicated ground you are currently standing on. not the grind you wish you were on.
Okay, to see how this plays out in reality, we have to talk about Anna's own story from the book because it's just the ultimate case study in not waiting for the perfect match.
It really is.
So, in her late 20s, she was completely exhausted. She had left a career that was just grinding her down. A childhood friend had tragically died. Her health was suffering, and she was entirely broke.
Like rock bottom.
Right. And to pay the bills, she was working the overnight audit and front desk shift at a hotel.
Which is the literal definition of survival mode.
Exactly. So from that ground, that messy, hard ground, she started looking for something with actual purpose, and she found a radiology company she believed in. An overnight support position opened up there.
And it wasn't even the job she really wanted.
No, but she applied anyway because it was a door, it was an opening. But here's the catch. Her car was falling apart, and the commute to this potential new job was 72 miles each way.
Oh my gosh. 72 miles.
All highway.
Wow.
Yeah. But she didn't wait for a better car to just magically appear or for her finances to completely clear up. She went to a dealer and she bought a $12,000 Chevy Aveo.
A Chevy Aveo. And she specifically notes in the book that this car was not glamorous.
Oh, not at all.
It wasn't even comfortable. But it functioned as a solved problem.
I love that phrase. That phrase needs to be a mental model for anyone listening to us right now who feels completely overwhelmed.
A solved problem.
Right.
Oh.
When you are drowning in complex issues, don't look for a quote-unquote good decision or the perfect fix. Just look for a solved problem.
Yeah, because a solved problem doesn't have to look pretty. It just stops the bleeding so you can focus on the next thing.
Exactly. She had an obstacle getting to the interview safely, and she solved exactly that obstacle. Nothing more. I mean, she even got pulled over for speeding on the way to the interview, and she walked into the building carrying a ticket she literally couldn't afford to pay.
Which is so real.
Mm-mm.
She didn't wait to feel completely calm or perfectly prepared. She just carried her messy reality right into the room with her.
Right.
And she was radically honest in that interview. She basically told them she wasn't there for the overnight posting, but to understand their operations from the ground up.
And it worked. They ended up offering her a night supervisor position instead.
Which is amazing. And then her first weekend on the floor, she sat down and read their entire systems manual. Like all of it.
All of it. Over a weekend.
Yeah. She just kept stacking these inches, buying the Aveo, being transparent in the interview, reading the manual, until she built an operations team that eventually reduced medical stroke protocol scan times by 8 minutes.
And in stroke treatment, 8 minutes literally saves lives.
Literally. She went from working a hotel overnight desk to building a massive operations team and tripling her income, all by just chaining together these tiny, unglamorous decisions.
Okay, but if I can step in for a second, though.
Yeah.
Because here's where it gets really interesting, but also a bit tough. If I'm listening to this and I have a severe chronic illness or I'm $10,000 in debt, an inch feels practically useless.
Right.
Doesn't an inch feel incredibly discouraging when you are staring at a marathon-sized problem in your life? I'm assuming the book has to address people whose ground is actively crumbling.
Oh, absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that frustration makes complete sense. But the mechanism you have to understand here is the compounding nature of these inches.
Compounding inches.
Yeah. As Anna writes, you cannot see the top of the stack from the bottom.
Okay, that makes sense.
When she signed the papers for that Chevy Aveo,
Yeah.
she wasn't visualizing saving lives and stroke protocol. She wasn't thinking about that at all. She was just trying to get down the highway.
Right.
Possibility layers itself. That one honest inch unlocks a viewpoint or a perspective or an opportunity that you literally could not see before you moved. You have to build the foundation before you can see the view from the roof.
Okay, I get that. That makes sense for someone who just needs a career pivot or a new car. But what if the ground you are standing on isn't just tough? What if it's a structural trap?
Like a systemic issue.
Yeah. If you are carrying something truly heavy, a one-size-fits-all approach is going to fail miserably.
And that is exactly where the book shifts from philosophy into a highly tactical manual.
No, really?
Yeah. Part 2 of the book is entirely made up of specific field guides that are tailored for those messy, complicated realities.
So they don't just leave you hanging with the theory.
Not at all. The authors know life doesn't happen in clean categories. Problems overlap. So they actually build guides for things like the overextended caregiver or the peacekeeper drowning in resentment.
Oh, wow.
They have one called the chronic health hurdle and another for financial restarts.
They really tackle the actual swamp.
They do. But rather than just giving generic advice for each one, they apply these high-level frameworks to diagnose the specific barriers in those situations.
Okay, I want to hear about these frameworks.
We'll take rubber band theory, for example.
Rubber band theory. Let's dive into that because I feel like the mechanics of how we fail at new habits is usually deeply misunderstood.
Oh, totally. We typically view failure as a sign we shouldn't have tried in the first place. But rubber band theory changes that mechanism entirely.
How so?
The idea is that real growth requires stretching your capacity, just like stretching a literal rubber band.
Okay, visualizing a rubber band.
Right. You expand into new habits, or maybe you set a new boundary with a toxic family member. But with physical expansion comes physical resistance. The material naturally wants to pull back to its resting state.
Snap back.
Yes, the snapback. Old habits, systemic fears, or the people around you resisting your new boundaries, that retraction, that snapback, isn't a failure. It is literal proof that you have expanded your capacity.
Oh, wow. That's a huge shift in perspective.
Right. You are just feeling the tension of growth.
So, okay, when the peacekeeper drowning in resentment finally says no to an unreasonable request and then feels this massive wave of guilt and caves in 2 days later,
Yeah.
that's not a sign they're fundamentally broken or that they failed. That's just the snapback.
Precisely. And the mechanical secret of the rubber band is that once it is stretched, it never returns to its exact original microscopic size.
Wait, really?
The micro tears in the material actually change it. Each stretch, even if it snaps back, leaves you slightly larger and slightly more capable than you were before.
That entirely shifts how you look at setback.
It really does. It gives you so much grace.
What's another framework they use?
Another major one they deploy across these specific field guides is PhysioFX.
PhysioFX, like physiological effects.
Exactly. And we need to explain how this actually works because it sounds like standard mind-body connection stuff, but the book goes much deeper into the actual biology of being stuck.
Okay, break it down for us.
It's the unavoidable biological loop between your brain, your body, and your community. Think about the overextended caregiver field guide.
Okay.
If you are a caregiver who is constantly braced for the next medical crisis, your nervous system is perpetually flooded with cortisol.
Because you're always on edge.
Right. You are stuck in a physical fight-or-flight state. And the book points out that you cannot outthink physiological exhaustion.
Because your brain is receiving actual danger signals from your own body.
Yes. Your physical environment and how you treat your physical body are actively shaping what your brain believes is logically possible.
Wow.
If your body is exhausted, your brain literally shrinks your horizon of possibility down to mere survival.
Which means you literally can't see the way out physically.
Exactly.
Right.
So the intervention for that caregiver isn't some mindset shift. It's a physiological intervention.
Like what?
Like 10 minutes of regulating the nervous system. Or removing a sensory trigger. You have to change the body's data input before the brain will allow you to see a new possibility.
That is so practical. And I guess because you can't outthink that physiological exhaustion, your first active step isn't changing your mindset. It's stopping the fight against your current reality.
Yes. The authors call this acceptance.
But acceptance is a dangerously loaded word in the self-help space.
It really is.
Because it usually sounds like giving up, like, oh, just accept your terrible situation.
It does sound like that, but their mechanical definition is the exact opposite of giving up. The book defines surrender as withdrawing from reality. But acceptance is working with reality.
Oh, that's a brilliant distinction. Surrender is withdrawing, acceptance is working with it.
Right. Let's look at the Chronic Health Hurdle Guide. If you have a chronic illness, fighting the unchangeable reality of that illness, waking up every day angry that you are sick, demanding that your body function like it used to, that consumes massive amounts of cognitive and physical energy.
Energy you desperately need just to function.
Exactly. Acceptance is the mechanism of stopping the fight against the unchangeable constraints. You stop spending your limited energy demanding the constraint disappear, and you free up that exact same energy to actually move, adapt, and build within the reality that currently exists.
Right. You acknowledge the parameters of the box so you can actually start organizing the inside of it.
Yes. Beautifully said.
So it's like you stop fighting the fact that you are in a swamp and you use that energy to look for a solid rock to step on.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how this leads to the radical permission the authors give the reader.
Radical permission.
Yeah. Right at the beginning, in a section called A Note on Harder Ground, they explicitly tell you that if an exercise feels too heavy, or if looking at your past feels destabilizing, you are allowed to just put the book down.
Wait, a self-help book telling you not to push through? That is incredibly rare.
It's unheard of. They write, that response is information, not failure.
Wow. Information, not failure.
Because it honors your actual physical limits. It encourages bringing a professional therapist alongside the reading if you need to.
Which is so responsible.
Very. It acknowledges that if you are in active trauma or an unsafe situation, this book is not your first step, safety is.
That is the complete antithesis of toxic positivity.
Right. It respects that building a foundation sometimes means recognizing you are too exhausted to build anything today. And your next honest inch is simply resting.
I think so many people need to hear that right now. Just resting is an inch. And to everyone listening to us right now, I want to point out that we are intentionally only scratching the surface of these field guides.
Oh, for sure. We barely touch them.
Right. We don't want to give away the whole playbook here because the absolute magic of a possibility of happy is finding the specific field guide that matches your life.
Yeah, the high-level tools only truly come alive when they're applied to your specific context.
Which is exactly why I strongly encourage you, the listener, to grab a copy of this book. Raven and Anna have written this beautifully honest, legacy-driven manual that basically gives you total permission to start exactly where you are, no matter how messy that is.
It really is a gift.
It's for the potential reader who is just tired of being told to think positive and wants the gritty, practical tools to engineer their own way out of the mud.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, I actually want to leave you with one final mechanism to consider.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
We've talked a lot today about action, right? Engineering and movement and stacking inches.
Lots of doing.
Lots of doing. But the book also touches on the nature of our goals and how they actually form in the brain.
Okay, getting into the neuroscience.
Just a little bit. Neuroscientifically, the brain logs an emotion first, and then it retroactively builds a visual goal or a storyline to match that feeling.
Wait, really? So the feeling actually precedes the dream?
It does. The brain senses a feeling, maybe it's relief or safety or alignment, and its pattern recognition software kicks in to construct a scenario that would logically produce that feeling.
That is wild.
Right. So if possibility takes movement, and if our brains build realities backward from our emotions, you don't always have to start by agonizing over a spreadsheet or a 10-year plan.
That's a relief.
What if you simply allowed yourself to feel the emotion of your desired outcome for just 10 seconds today?
Just 10 seconds.
Yeah, not visualizing the perfect plan,
Right.
but physically sitting in the feeling of relief or peace.
And then just letting your brain's natural pattern recognition figure out the physical step that matches it.
Exactly. What new next honest inch might your brain automatically reveal to you tomorrow, just from sitting in that feeling today?
Wow. So if you are standing in that swamp we talked about at the beginning and you're just exhausted, tired of holding a map that doesn't match your reality, maybe it's time to throw away the rollerblades. Feel the ground under your feet. Find that feeling of where you want to be and let your brain reveal your next honest inch. That's really all it takes to begin.